if you can't have conversations about the shit you've been through with your person, they're not your person.
Yeah.
First and foremost, if I came to you and was like, hey, all of these horrible things happened to me in my life, and because of that, I'm fucking emotionally scarred, and you were like, suck it the fuck up. Like, it took a lot for me to come to you and say that these things are a problem for me, and you just basically negated all of it. You've just given me a very good example of the way the rest of our life is going to be. I'm good. If you can't communicate with your person, that's a problem. And that's them not being willing to have the conversations. As for, especially with what he caused, without coming off as accusatory, he did the things he did.
Right. You're not accusing him of anything.
Right. It happened.
You're stating facts. You did this, and because of that, I now feel this way.
Right. So the I versus you statements come into play here as an I feel like blah, 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 blah.
I'm now questioning this.
Right. I'm feeling insecure today. Can you give me reassurance? Ever since February, I haven't been sleeping. Because I'm not sleeping, my brain's not working the way that my brain should be working, and I'm insecure as a motherfucker. I worry about what you're doing on your lunch break. I wonder who you're talking to. There's a whole lot of me that needs to be healed right now because of what happened. I'm leaning on you because I want you to try to be a part of that process. And if you can't be a part of that process, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get over it.
Right.
Right. All of that is about me. None of that was a fuck you in that. None of it was a can't believe you did this to me.
As somebody with borderline, when I come to you and say that I'm having that ideation going on, part of it is attention. I need something from you as another person to let me know that everything's okay right now. I do want your attention on me when I say those things to you. If I said that to you and you're like, whatever, babe, this is another Tuesday for you.
Yeah, get over it.
Right. That would hurt. I think the reasoning that people say the things they say should be more looked at versus just everybody who says it is not seeking attention.
Right.
Right. Because like you said, I know people. I've received text messages from a dude that I broke up with, self-harming, and the only reason he did it was to try to get me back with him.
What you just said, though, is a very good way to look at it, because somebody that is looking for help in that moment is looking for help. But what you need is the attention from another person to care about you, to have the conversations, to talk you off that ledge. That is attention.
It is.
And the problem is the meaning of the word and the meaning we assign to it when it's being said, oh, they just want attention. That sounds like a negative thing. You saying, well, in the moment, I do need your attention. I need your help. I want you to focus on me. That is me giving you my undivided attention. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
The reality is that the more someone tries to shame a person for having developed a victim mentality, the more those types of articles reinforce the dynamic. It becomes a circular argument, hence those kinds of articles become counterintuitive to what they are trying to convey by perpetuating the role of a victim. It is my hope that this article can help shed a different light on a victim mentality.
Okay. I have a deep-seated hatred for victim mentality.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't say a hatred. It's a very deep-seated frustration.
It's a hatred for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I view that as manipulation.
Yeah.
And I think that people who live in that victim mentality and utilize it to bend people to their will is like one of the worst type of people.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
Because there are good, genuine, good people out there who want to help people. And when they come across people with the victim mentality, there's a give and take that happens, and those takers will continue to take, and that good person can only give so much.
Right.
And in the end, that good person will no longer be a good person because they'll be scorned by somebody that fucking did them dirty while they were trying to help them. So.
Yeah.
This is why you hate your person. My response to that initial argument, assuming that was us, would be, where is this coming from? Because you've never talked to me this way over a cup. Am I not doing what I'm supposed to be doing as your husband? Because I believe I've been serving you, and here's how. And I'm going to list out all the things that I believe I've been doing to serve our marriage. And then I'm going to ask you, like, is your intimacy needs not being met? Like, am I not touching you enough? Am I not telling you you're beautiful? Because there's been times where, like, I've been super depressed and stressed out, and you've been like, hey, I've noticed a little bit of a fallout on the affection, and I'm bringing it to your attention because I don't want it to become habitual. And
and I don't want to resent you.
Right.
Like, I can sit there and shut up and be quiet and just accept that you're slacking. But then all of that anger and frustration is going to get built up in me, and I'm going to blame you for it.
And then you're going to bitch at me because I set a cup on the counter.
Right.
That's the real discussion. So for everybody that wanted us to react to this TikTok or do edit, she's wrong in all of it.
Yeah.
He's wrong in the way
In
that he
all of it.
responded to it. You guys are fucking oblivious to what's actually going on in the relationship, and this is why you hate your person.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit hung up on I wouldn't have married him if I did not see his potential for greatness at times. I saw your greatness and your potential for greatness. Like you were already what I was looking for in a man. And your growth and spiritual journey and healing journey and all of these things that you have continued on down throughout our marriage is just adding to that. I didn't marry you on the hope of you becoming somebody I would want to be married to. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's how that came across to me.
Right.
Continuing on, I do believe my perceptions not being rooted in healthy dynamics were misguided now, but I do not think we aren't both capable of growing together. I often say we are very different, but I embrace that. Where my husband has strengths, those are my weaknesses, and where I have strengths, those are his weaknesses.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I appreciated that within our relationship because to me it meant we could challenge one another and continuously grow together. Us against the world, or so I thought. We have had loyalty issues. He has sought after women's attention at times throughout our relationship, probably more than I know. He does love attention, I do not. I understand that I am responsible for its continuance. I asked him if this was happening recently because there are signs or behaviors that he exhibited before when this was happening that are coming up now. I don't understand how him seeking attention outside of the relationship,
I do.
to a certain extent, if she's not making him happy, I can see why he is seeking elsewhere. If there's not appreciation or gratitude or grace given in moments, or if she's very do as I say, not as I do, or I'm going to run this relationship because I'm the one with the children here, I can see that. Him making the decision to turn outwards, though, is on him. If he's unhappy in the relationship, he could walk away or he could try to fix it. This isn't just a one-sided, he's looking elsewhere because I'm a piece of shit. It takes two people in a relationship for it to fail.
Right. You touched on a couple things that I don't want to go by. One of them is being, ladies, I know that there are a lot of ladies who watch this podcast. And if you watch this with your man, I want you to look at his face when I say this. When a man tells you he doesn't want to do this anymore and doesn't give any clarification besides that, that's a suicidal statement. If they say, I'm tired, and they can't tell you why they're tired, it's that they don't want to continue suffering and pushing on the way that they do. And the other one was when a man tells you something along the lines of, I think this is going to be the death of me. That's not an empty statement. You also said, sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional.
No, man, I'm right there with you.
you said, fuck, dude. That he was the stoic man who tried to like put that veil up and was not able to come to people because he didn't feel like a burden. That is every husband in every relationship who is leading their home. It is our job
to be masculine.
It's our job to protect our family, and all of the shit that would land on my wife and my kids. It is my responsibility to stop that from happening. And there are going to be days that they get splashed by my ugly, and I know that. But the goal is to make it so that they're being splashed a little bit by my ugly instead of the avalanche of the world around us.
Absolutely.
And so many people get caught up in the not being able to talk to their partner because they don't want to put that on their feet. And I don't have that with my wife. When I'm having bad days, I pull her aside. I'm like, I'm struggling with my mental health right now, whatever. This is what's going on in our life. And I'm able to talk to her. But until I had her, I was never able to have those conversations. I had to suck it the fuck up and suppress my shit because I have things that people are relying on me to do. And, you know, I use the phrase on the podcast a lot. You know, there's a difference between being that guy and being that motherfucker. And sometimes you have to be that motherfucker, but sometimes you can't. And you need to be able to lean on your person. And if you don't have somebody to lean on, this is where every one of us is going to end up. We did an episode earlier where we were talking about old people. And if you look at every old couple that's like 75 and up that are together, the woman can still stand up straight. The man is hunched over. He can barely walk. His back and hips are fucked up. His knees are fucked up. He grunts when he sits down. And that's because he did everything he could, breaking his body to make sure that she had everything she could get. And sometimes we forget that they're there to help us and support us and hold us. My wife is there to pick my shield up when I can't carry that motherfucker anymore. I'll continue to fight as long as she's holding it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's important that these conversations don't get overlooked and overstepped or misunderstood, ladies. When we say things to you, we know what the fuck we're saying. We just can't have the conversation because we don't know how you're going to take it. We don't want to be Baker acted. We don't want to be looked down upon because we're weak. We don't want to look vulnerable because what if we cry and they no longer see us as the protector or whatever the ugliness is that is the stigma around all of these conversations. But these conversations have to happen, especially if you love your man, guys. Give them space to just give them space. Give them make space for them in your life. And if they have to sit there for 15 minutes in complete silence or cry or whatever the fuck it is that they need to do, just be there. Rub their back, fucking put your feet on their lap, lay your head on them. Let them know that there's a reason for what they're doing. That reason is enough for us most of the time.
I think it's safe and correct to say neither my husband or myself have ever seen or been a part of a genuinely healthy relationship. I would even go as far to say that we don't even know what that looks like or how to be in one.
There's a whole lot of honesty in that.
Yeah.
Because she just basically said that her relationship is a mess.
I have 2 children from before I met my now husband. I was 18, turning 19 when I had my first son. I say kids, but my first son is now 21 and my daughter is going to be 17 in November. I raised them as best as I could on my own. My mom watched them as I went back to school and worked and still watch my baby so I can do my current therapies and give them their deserved attention and commitment today. How I parent is a big problem for my husband. I don't scream or yell, I don't hit, and I do not speak to my kids negatively or in a way that would hurt them emotionally. Does that mean you're not saying things purposely to hurt them? Because I can tell our kids we're not having chicken nuggets for dinner and then you think the end of the world's happening. So what does that look like? Because if you are gentle parenting and there's no discipline happening and you're walking on eggshells around your kids and they are the bosses in the household because they recognize they can get whatever they want, that's a problem. If you're being conscientious of the way that you're saying things and you're trying to not intentionally hurt your children, I agree with that. How language can shame your partner. Words have the power to build someone up, instilling confidence and love, or they can tear someone down, creating feelings of inadequacy and shame. While many people strive to be kind and supportive in their relationships, it's easy to fall into patterns of using language that can unintentionally hurt a partner. Shame-based communication, whether intentional or subconscious, can weaken trust, lower self-esteem, and create emotional distance over time. Unlike direct criticism, which often targets specific actions, shame attacks a person's self-worth, makes them feel defective, unworthy, or fundamentally flawed. And the worst part, many people don't even realize they're using shaming language.
Okay, before we move on, this starts from, I believe this starts more from mothers than from fathers.
Okay.
Because women pick apart the emotional things, and that's the way that they've always done things. Mm-hmm. It's a passive-aggressive way to say, don't wear that dress. Yeah. Passive-aggressive way to say you look fat in those leggings. It's passive-aggressive way to say that your shirt looks like shit on you or your belly's sticking out or whatever it is, because it's easier to passive-aggressively say something and make you doubt yourself than it is to say, hey, you've put on 15 pounds and your clothes no longer fit, because that's hurtful. And I think that behavior stems from like generations. And I believe that because our parents did it to us, we tend to do that downward. Mm-hmm. We had a conversation with little man last night about being honest. And it would be better to be honest and hurt someone's feelings than to lie to them and be wrong. And then we had to have a conversation that you can skirt around things and say the hard conversations without being an asshole. It's hard for people. We are our own worst enemies. There's nothing that anyone is going to ever say to me that I haven't said to myself. I am my own worst enemy. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole lot of growth that can happen in that. And you don't have to buy gifts. So physical touch goes a long way. Repair starts when there's compassion. You know, you're not going to be able to be like in conflict, be like, you know what? I fucking love you and I'm leaving. That's not going to repair anything.
Right.
It's great that you love me, but why are you leaving? Why'd you talk to me like that? Right. Like compassion and empathy goes a long way in that. And one of the things that I want is to be more compassionate. I want to get to the level where I can start to cry and talk through that conversation and just let that shit go, because I can't do that now. Like, you can cry while talking.
Yeah.
I start to cry a little bit and I become a 13-year-old in puberty and my voice starts cracking and like the floodgates open. I can't control it. And like, that's something that I want to get through. But I'm also very concerned of what that's going to look like during our journey, because if that is something that's got to be opened up while I'm fucking going through it, it's going to be ugly. So anyways, because if you don't have conflict resolution and you're in a relationship and you're just sticking your head in the sand proverbially, you're not going to ever have any resolution. You're going to get further and further and further away from who you are as a person, and the relationship is going to degrade. That's all there is to that. So some of the things that you can do, and it starting in conflict, which is the hardest. And I'm speaking solely from my perspective. When I'm angry, I don't want to be affectionate. I don't want to be like, I love you. I don't want to be like, come here, woman. Like I want to like process my frustration so that I don't take things out on you. And it's very difficult for me to learn to go, hey, I don't want to talk to you that way. Like, that was a huge step for me. And that has prevented a whole lot of ugly. But when I do allow myself to get to the point where I'm animated or I'm frustrated or whatever the situation is, I have to check that in order to let you know that I'm not leaving, or to give you a hug and a kiss your forehead or whatever the case is. And that is what repair looks like. Sometimes it's about putting yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in because you're fuck this person right now, right? Like, and that's normal. Especially from an abusive situation. If you were somebody that was abused as a child and never really had a say with your emotions and were forced to suck it up, bottle it in, and deal with it the way ever, however you can deal with it, you didn't have a voice. You couldn't talk about the things that were bothering you. You just suffer. So the repair starts in the conflict situation. Now, if you have a fight and you can not do the physical touch and like the words of affirmations during a fight of I'm not going to leave you, maybe give yourself that hour to calm down a little bit and then walk in the room and be like, hey, I love you and I'm really sorry that we had this tiff today. Is there anything that I can do right now for you to make your life better? What are some things that you would do if you had an hour after conflict to start to repair things?
With us?
Just in general. You can use us as an example. You can make up scenarios too. It doesn't matter. Say you got into a fight with Carrie. She's your friend. You would want to repair that relationship afterwards because she is your friend. So say an hour went by, because it doesn't have to be a lover, right?
I don't know, like a goodwill trip or something.
Okay. So you would want to physically actually spend time with somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. You know how hard that would be for people who are mad at their person? So to force yourselves to get through that, even though you're still kind of processing and frustrated, I think that takes a lot of growth.
I also have like a real life instance with us where I was like very much like, fuck him right now, but he deleted all my photos from Thailand.
Oh, I know. I felt so fucking bad over that.
I came out and I could tell I was very much in that fuck him mindset. And I made it a point to come over to you and be like, hey, I don't hate you. I'm not mad about this. And I loved up on you. That took a lot for me.
I bet. You definitely, I mean, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Because that would have ruined our entire, I mean, I could have ruined a week.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting massive fallout from that. And the irony of all of that is that happened because I was trying to make your computer work for you so that we could game because you wanted to play video games.
Yeah.
And there was no space for it to download the update. So like I was trying to do whatever I could and I had no idea that I deleted that file, and it was totally an accident. I would never do that on purpose, but I felt so fucking bad.
Yeah.
So you being able to do that in the moment, that is a great representation of what that repair looks like, because we were able to pick our day back up and go back to the way it's supposed to be.
We continued playing video games. My mood was pretty messed up for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
There was a lot of acceptance that had to happen to my end. And part of me feels like you could tell like I really wasn't 100% for the rest of the day. But I still made it a point to, we're playing video games and we're going to cuddle on the couch tonight and all of that, because what's there to be done? Like, it's gone.
Yeah.
Me being pissed off for the next week at you or treating you like shit because I want you to feel as bad as I feel right now is going to do nothing but create cracks in our marriage.
But words of affirmation is big to me. First time you told me you were proud of me, I almost cried. Like there's a lot that goes into that. And for and we're going to get into a whole lot of this in a minute, but for people who are really going through childhood trauma triggers, they're trying to rebuild their self-esteem from physical or verbal psychological abuse. Those words of affirmations are like, you become the Grinch, and then your heart grows 10 times. And you're like, holy shit, this is what love feels like, right? And it's as simple as, I'm proud of you. Hey, I know that you had a really bad day today. A real quick example would be like, if I was at the tattoo shop dealing with the health department and had like a whole bunch of fucking issues with them and then a manager, and called you on the way home and I'm like, I'm so fucking over this shit and I'm having a really bad day. And I pull in the driveway and you meet me outside and you hug me and you grab my face and you look me in the eye and you're like, I'm fucking proud of you and thank you for doing the things that you're doing. That changes everything. Changes my day, changes my mindset. I'm no longer like, fuck this. I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. And it changes things. I attempt to do the repair and it's not always reciprocated. My husband doesn't articulate thoughts or feelings a whole bunch. So what you're saying is that you don't perceive it as reciprocated because he's not matching that energy. I'm not going to speak for your husband because I don't know if it's that way or not. But I know that even when I'm having those hard moments and I'm not able to match your energy, that repair still matters. So if I was really mad at you and you came up and you were like, hey, I love you, I'm not leaving, this was just a bad moment, whatever, that does start to set the tone for the healing conversation that's going to happen. So don't get discouraged. If you guys are doing it, don't get discouraged by that. Make sure that you're actually continuing to do those things. And that might be the thing that allows your husband to open up a little bit more in the future because you are trying to repair the situation. There's a difference between repairing the situation and taking the blame.
Yeah.
I don't want you guys to just be like, hey, this is my fault. I'm sorry that I did this. It won't happen again. Like, if it is your fault, take accountability, but there needs to be an understanding of why. We need to be fully on board of what's going on so that we can have the conversation.
Anyone who grew up experiencing a narcissistic parent recognizes that they are skilled manipulators, emotional controllers, and gaslighters. And they're masters at denying all of it.
Yep.
They are equally skilled at playing a martyr and flipping the script to anyone involved that we are just difficult or troubled children. Their abuse can be so covert and convincing that doctors, teachers, and even social services believe their story instead of taking the time to examine the truth. There are differences between a shy child and an emotionally withdrawn child. There are differences between a child who is oppositional versus a child who is actively trying to protect their abusive parent by refusing to comply. And there are differences between a rebellious kid and one who is self-destructing as a cry for help. Yet, if these professionals aren't properly trained to notice the red flags in an abused child, they may fall hook, line, and sinker for the self-serving story they're being spoon-fed from a narcissistic parent. He says that he's a shell of his former self, which is apparently my doing, but he's the one who allowed it.
I have a lot to say about that.
I also have a lot to say about that because what comes to my mind is, well, she allowed him to beat her ass. Like, that's not how that works. Of course, people are in charge of their own boundaries. And when somebody lets something slide, right? And I'm taking it to an extreme. Abusive situations don't always start out with someone hitting somebody.
Right.
They're throwing things, or they're raising their voice, or they're using degrading names, or they're punching holes in the wall, and then it escalates. If he was allowing small things to slide of, oh, her tone was disrespectful. I don't like the way that she just spoke to me. Her attitude's a little bit too much. Well, but I love her, so I'm going to pick and choose my battles.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it ride.
And then it continues to just go and go and go and go. He should have maintained his boundaries of, you're not going to speak to me this way. You're not going to treat me this way. This is not going to be my woman's behavior, right? Also, that which is apparently my doing, it's not apparently your doing. You did that shit. If he's telling you that you are part of the reason that he feels like the shell of a human being, that's his life. That is his version of the truth. That is his perspective of things. And you cannot tell him that he's wrong for that. As with most things, there's a fine line between establishing a boundary for ourselves versus trying to control or manipulate a situation. Is that a fine line?
Yes. Yes, it is. Because there's a whole lot of people that will set boundaries and use it to control another person or manipulating them into doing something that they want them to do.
Oh, yeah, like an ultimatum or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can be very manipulative with all of that shit.
Okay. This fine line is established when learning the differences between narcissistic silent treatment, which is based on power, punishment, manipulation, guilt, and control, versus going no contact, which is based on establishing a non-negotiable boundary for ourselves to protect our emotional and psychological health.
You guys should read, is it Boundaries? Is that
Set
the name of the
boundaries,
book?
find peace.
Yes, Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to this episode and you haven't read that book yet, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
I love that book. Very good one.
If you ever have to say to your person, why didn't you tell me?
Mm-hmm.
It's because you're not a safe space.
Yeah.
They know that whatever they need to come to you with either is going to get thrown in their face.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's going to change. You are going to turn it into about you. Victim mentality. You're the problem, not them.
Treat it like it doesn't matter.
Right. That'll never happen with us.
No.
The moment something happens that I don't like, I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you mean? I don't fucking know. But that was stated or that happened and I don't like the way it made me feel. And when I know why I don't like it the way it made me feel, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But right now I don't like that. Just so you know, that's not okay with me. That doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that conversation happens in 3 minutes. Sometimes it takes me a couple weeks to figure out what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
Sometimes that was nothing to do with you whatsoever. That was one of the big things that we had in the beginning of our relationship was the I don't feel safe talking to you in these conversations. And that wasn't always, sometimes it was a me problem.
Yeah.
Because it was, you were afraid that I was going to react poorly or I had reacted poorly and got defensive, but it wasn't always the case. Sometimes it was just life that had trained you before me that you didn't know how to talk to me about. But like every time you ever said that, it fucking slapped me in the face. Like, that was one of the biggest, this is not okay. We have to get through this because if we can't get past this, we can't get past, we're not going to be able to move forward with our relationship. Like we have to have that safe space.
Okay, so my first question is why are they continuously bringing this up? Normally when that happens, it's because things were never resolved or they were not happy with the way things were resolved. The Gottmans talk about a perpetual argument. There are times that Peaches and I have a disagreement, and that disagreement ends in a way that we simply go, you and I are not going to see eye to eye on this. I respect your opinion on it. I have mine, and that's just all there's going to be to that. Those disagreements are natural. They happen. You are not going to always see eye to eye with your person. Now, if this is something that is an action that has happened and they are not able to like move past it, they're stuck in a loop, that's a different conversation. So ultimately, I guess, is what is the reason or what is the thing that they're bringing up? If it's something that can be resolved, or maybe you're not validating or they're not being heard or whatever the case may be, it's going to take work and you guys are going to have a lot of hard conversations to get there. But it should be probing conversations, not trying to get forgiveness, but to understand. Because, I mean, ultimately, that's what everybody wants. They want to be heard, understood, and felt, right? So, like, if you can validate what they're going through, maybe that'll correct the problem in the future. But until you know, or until I know, I guess, really what's what, I can't say. Because in some cases, honestly, in some cases, that shit can be used as manipulation to get so that people can get what they want.
He has said he isn't in love with me anymore. He cares, but that's it. He doesn't think he could regrow feelings for me. Things are over. However, he's had emotional reactions to me asking if I should be single, see other people, or that Doesn't seem like he still loves me. That one was a tearful, of course I still love you, but it's not the same.
What do you mean if I'm asking, should I be single? You said he stepped out on you. You are single.
You are single.
You guys are a fucking mess.
Yeah, she's really trying to cling on.
Yeah.
Really trying to cling on.
This is not Star Trek. No Klingon.
I've been emotional after breakups.
Normal.
Right.
It hurts for both people, whether you've been the breakup or
Right.
the breakup E.
Yeah. I think breakup is correct.
Or E.
You're a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
I've cried after breakups. I knew it was the right desertion.
Desertion.
I knew it was the right decision to end the relationship and still cried about it because even though I'm no longer in love with the person, I love people.
Right.
Especially if I've cared about you for a certain amount of time, I don't want to be the cause of your pain. He says I've never been there for him, but I don't see how he can say that when I'm sitting here crying. And then he says, because you crying isn't being there for him.
Good point.
You crying is making it about you and your hurt and your pain. You're not listening to what this man is telling you. This man is saying, I feel like you've never loved me the entirety of our relationship. I feel like I haven't been supported. I feel like I don't matter. Well, I'm crying because I do love you. How can you say these things to me? You're hurting me right now. My response would have been, I feel like I have been showing you love. I feel like I have gone out of my way to support you. So what are the things that stand out in your mind to make you feel this way? So going forward, I can correct that behavior.
In order for that to be a thing, communication has to happen.
Right.
And here's another thought for all of you who are listening to this that's not in this relationship. If your communication is non-existent because of every time I bring something to you, well, you know I love you, here I am crying, and that manipulation shit happens, of course nothing's going to ever get resolved or brought up because every time I bring something to you, you start fucking crying and make it about you, so fuck me.
Yeah.
Right.
Clearly, you're the more important one here because once you start crying, the conversation has to end so you can feel better about it. I talked about this with my therapist and she suggested that I explain to him that I've been feeling on edge because my brain had been wired to protect myself from getting hurt like that again. And because of that, I am just hypervigilant to any signs that something could be off.
I agree with your therapist.
Yes. I told him about this and tried my best to explain it as a me problem and not an accusation of him. I just wanted him to understand. The whole time I was talking to him, he seemed distant and a bit cold and didn't really have a lot to say, except that it didn't make sense that he'd cheat because he doesn't have social media and doesn't go anywhere. This didn't stop him before when he was messaging the other girl, though. I told him that it seemed like he was angry. He said he wasn't and that he just didn't know what to say about it because it was a me thing. I disagree with that.
I do too.
Right? Like you having your feelings and being insecure and right, like all of that is a you thing. You do have to work through those things and try to build yourself back up. This is a cause and effect though. You wouldn't be feeling this way if he hadn't been doing foul shit behind your back.
The making excuses behind all of this is where my issues come in.
Yeah, I don't have social media, so I can't cheat on you.
Right. You could still find ways. There's a whole lot of things that could be done. Text messaging goes a long fucking way. And the amount of secret messaging apps that are available is insane. Why not just go, hey, I know that I did these things and I'm trying really fucking hard to repair or fix our relationship. And I know that the way that you're feeling is because of my actions. And I'm sorry for that. And then just give reassurance. I am at work. I'm not doing these things. And I know that I can't prove to you that I'm not doing those things, but what can I do to try to help our relationship get back to square one? Because right now we're not there. And if we can't get back to square one and you don't think that you're going to be able to forgive me and get past this, then we should probably not be together.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to continue to make amends for the next 30 years for you to throw this in my face 30 years from now. Mm-hmm. Like there needs to be honest conversation there from both sides, and him shutting down and becoming distanced because she's trying to express her insecurities that he created.
Right. I was about to say, based on the damage that he caused.
Right. Sometimes you have to eat shit.
Yeah.
That's all there is to that.
Mm-hmm.